Hey guys, Ron here, and it seems like Pokemon fusions are all the rage now. I mean, they've been popular since Venustoise dropped, and became canon with Kyurem. But what if I fuse more than just 2 or even 3 Pokemon? In this new potential series, I'm going to be fusing entire groups of Pokemon, so leave a like and subscribe if you want to see me fuse starter Pokemon, pseudo-legendaries, entire types, and more. Let me tell you guys why this video could be very significant. In the past, whenever someone would attempt to fuse 10 or more legendaries, they would keep the features exactly how they were on the original Pokemon. So they'd take Rayquaza's face and Palkia's arm, perhaps Zekrom's leg and Articuno's wings, and so on until they used up all the legendaries they could. But they wouldn't fuse individual body parts together, so that they looked more natural. For example, I noticed Reshiram and Zekrom's feet are similar, so I combined them and added Solgalio's patterns. This is a more cohesive body part instead of just choosing the foot of one legendary and the arm of another. I'm going to take a good look at all the legendaries and try to combine similar elements like how Arceus, Darkrai, Meloetta, and Keldeo have long flowing hair, or the long encrusted tails of both the Lake Trio and Forces of Nature to, fuse them. This way, these won't be as complicated as they should be. They will still be over-designed chimeras, complicated and uncanny monsters, but that's the nature of fusing 20 plus Pokemon. I don't want you to think that these will be or should be as natural looking as actual Pokemon. But to be extremely clear, it would be really unpleasant and unnecessary to combine 100 Pokemon. I'm not going to combine every single legendary into a single design. That would make the video too short anyways. Instead, we will be making 3 Pokemon, one for each category of legendaries. These categories are Sub-Legendary, Legendary, and Mythical. Legendaries are the main group of Pokemon that are typically on the covers of the video games or are a huge part of the main lore of the region or story. You got your Ho-Ohs, Rayquazas, Necrozma, and even Calyrex and Mewtwo. I will be fusing all these Pokemon into one. The next group you need to understand are Sub-Legendaries. These are all the other legendary Pokemon you can find in the game without any sort of event or code. Legendary birds, beasts, titans, and treasures of ruins. Basically any other legendary that isn't the main focus of the plot, but can still be found in the game. Keep in mind, Ultra Beasts are sub-legendaries. It's in the code and everything, but they are the only Pokemon I'm not including in this video, because Ultra Beasts are so different from each other and all the other sub-legendaries, it would just be a waste of time to include them. If you want to see me fuse all Ultra Beasts in the future, let me know. And finally, the last group of legendaries are Mythicals. Yes, Mythicals are a subcategory of legendaries. These are Pokemon that are so rare, most of them can't be found in the game and are reserved for event distributions. Pretty straightforward, honestly. Keep in mind, we aren't going to include the legendaries from the hidden treasure of Area Zero's DLCs. Just imagine the Pokemon we're about to make has a toxic chain around its neck, or one jewel in the shape of Terapagos or Ogrepon's crystals. The whole process will be tough. I might not make it, but at least I'll try. Let's begin with sub-legendaries, honestly the most diverse of the 3 groups. You got birds, cats, ungulates, a pile of rocks, and a goldfish, but at least most of them are within a group that shares similar traits. So, if I give my Fakemon some Regidots, that is already enough representation for 6 Pokemon, but I'll try to give him as much as I can without going overboard. But this is the first one I'm designing today. I'm sure it'll be the roughest, so please, at least compliment the things you do like about the upcoming design. With all of these, I'm going to start with the head. Usually you start by figuring out the basic shapes of the entire body, but since we're basically experimenting with the configuration of each body part as we go, I can't really start by coming up with a pose, when I literally don't even know the kind of body parts I'll give it yet. That's how flustered I am. I'm starting by giving it a combination of Zapdos and Moltres' beak with Articuno's eyes, and a mixture of both Zapdos forms' eye pattern. Then I gave it these tassels that combine the ears of Latios and Latias, as well as the headband of Urshifu. Then it's sporting the black top of the Swords of Justice, combined with the bulge on Cresselia's head, and Heatran's little bump. I'm trying to give it the thick dragon neck of the Eon duo, but we'll see how long that lasts. Body time. I know I want to give it the hind legs of a horse to include Spectrier and Glastrier in the mix. Then the cloud cape of Raikou and Entei mixed together. Entei's representation comes later. I tried combining the cape with the clouds of the Forces of Nature, but that made it look too detailed, so I scrapped that. The bottom of the feet of this quadruped is going to be a combination of Heatran and Entei's cuff with the fingers of Heatran and Regigigas. The forearms are a mixture of Cresselia's and Lottie's as well. Originally, I wanted to give the hind legs the attributes of the Swords of Justice, as well as Regigigas' moss, for now at least. On the chest, I added fur akin to both Cobalion and Articuno, and extended the eye pattern to make it look more like Entei's face armor. I added a mixture of Virizion and Terrakion shoulder tufts, but that'll end up combining with Articuno's feathers. By now, I'm learning that I can't just have each quadrant of the body have completely different attributes, and most importantly, heavily detailed traits with a lot of squiggles like clouds or moss on the feet will only make this already super complicated design even more of an abomination. So I made the hind legs match the front legs, but not gonna lie, I overdid it with Regigigas' fingers. I thought they were interesting, but they're too freaky for an already uncanny design. In the final design, they will be shorter and more Heatran-like. Originally, I was going to say that the entire thing is a Silvally reference, but so it had a literal contribution, I added its leg patterns on the thigh. I added the tribal patterns of the Tapus with a mix of Chiyus. I added cracks and lines to the wrist and ankle cuffs to mimic Ting Lu's cracks and Wo Qian's wooden tablets. The Ruinous Quartet was the toughest to include, since other legendary groups have common traits I can add, while the treasures of Ruin are completely different from each other, and I'm not going to stick random objects around our Pokemon. Like for example, I added the spots of all the forces of nature, and then began implementing the combined tails of Thundurus and Tornadus. What's cool is that at the end, the tail has the gem and spikes of the Lake Trio tail. Keep in mind, the final version will be slightly less flat. The colors are where we can make some other Pokemon shine as well. Like the gray, white, black, and yellow definitely puts the Urshifu line in the spotlight, but that's just coincidence. Most of these sub-legendaries have white, gray, and black accents, and very often yellow as their secondary color. Last minute, I added the Reggie-Eyes on the chest. Kinda almost forgot about them. Originally, I was going to incorporate the literal colors of some of these legendaries, like the blue of the Lake Trio tail and the rusted green of Ting Lu, but it made this look incohesive, especially when colors could be such a handy way to bind all these concepts together. So I decided to make the colors complementary. I chose purple and yellow. The final version will have Chien-Pao and Chiyu's patterns on the tail. Check out Primera, the legendary Pokemon, a psychic flying type from Prime and Chimera. Primera roam every region, galloping across oceans and leaping across mountain tops. The feathers on their arms extend when they jump, allowing them to glide. They are untamable. No trainer has ever caught Primera. Folklore from every region and era has defined it as the embodiment of freedom. It does not submit to those that want to control it for any purpose. In battle, it jumps high in the air and unleashes a powerful laser from its beak, and causes earthquakes when it lands. One swipe from its dense arm will shatter an entire fortress. It has mastery of every single Pokemon type. It has the ability Pressure. Its shiny is just another cool variation. This one speaks to me because it's not brutish or cute. It does feel like it has the spirit of the roaming legendaries and various benevolent beasts in this subcategory. It's clunky, sure, but it feels like a Pokemon version of the many fused animals that we see in real-world mythology. If on Earth we have mythical creatures that combine various animals, it makes sense for this to represent such myths in the Pokemon world. Next is the main event, pure red-blooded legendaries. The Pokemon I'm attempting to fuse now are the most complicated and hardest Pokemon to even draw one of in the entire franchise. Now I have to technically draw 26. If I can do this, I can do anything. Thank God there are a lot of repeating tropes like dragons, red and blue, finger wings, and more. They all have iconic features, so it'll be easier to recognize each element. But most importantly, since they're already over-designed compared to the average Pokemon, my Pokemon won't look more complicated than a Kyurem Black. Okay, maybe a bit. Starting with the eyes of the Creation Trio, the beak of Giratina, and the vertical lines of Dialga, the crest or horns of Viveltal, and helmet of Zacian and Zamazenta, which inadvertently combines with Giratina's armor. Then I topped it all off with the transparent space dome of the Solgaleo and Lunala line, along with the nose of Calyrex, Solgaleo, and Reshiram put together. The body shape is an amalgam of Zekrom and Palkia, with the chest of Koraidon and Miraidon. I included Mewtwo's neck tube, and the hands of Kyogre, Lugia, and Zekrom combined, and a bit of Reshiram too. I added the upper body of Necrozma, and some of Eternatus' spines on the tube. A belly pattern that mixes Mewtwo, Lugia, and Ho-Ohs. When the colors are added, it'll be clear. I even added the notch on Mewtwo's ear onto the dog ears of this guy. Some feathers of Reshiram on the thigh and hand as well, combined with the rectangle feathers of Ho-Oh on the palm. I added Xerneas' shoulder protrusions and inverted the left arm so I can see the front to add various patterns later, refining the lines to make the figure clear, and added Eternatus' vertebrae onto the Paradox Pokemon wheel. I even added Dialga's neck pattern to it. I added Groudon's patterns to the hand and Kyurem's biceps as well, a mixture of Palkia and Reshiram's feet with knees that sport Rayquaza's neat patterns. I added segments to the ankle that allude to Solgaleo's feet patterns, and a bunch of Zygarde cell hexagons where I felt appropriate. The only legendary that wasn't represented was Calyrex, so I replaced the eyes with Calyrex's and added its triangular patterns onto the hand, although off-screen I took that out because it was very distracting, and I thought too many people would mistake it for the Triforce. Next, we need more from Kyurem than its biceps, so I added Kyurem Black's tail. Now, most box art legendaries follow the whole warm color versus cool color with black and white accents, so we're basically working with red and blue for the main duo, and green and purple for the trio masters like Rayquaza and Eternatus. But since Dragon and Psychic are the main types, dark blue that borders purple will be prominent. A lot of these legendaries have golden accents, and when there is red on any of these legendaries, it's pretty saturated and bright. But making all these primary and secondary colors work together was brutal. I went through so many configurations of these colors. What you have to learn is that the colors need contrast. I can't just add red, blues, and greens. I have to make sure that some of the colors are dark and some of the colors are bright, or else there will be too many mid-tones and just blend together. You can see that when I make this black and white. There isn't much contrast. You want it to look like this when it's in black and white. The final version has completely different hues and tones so that there is some contrast. This is Amalgam, the banished Pokemon, a Dragon Psychic type from Amalgam and Grim. Legend has it that Arceus created this Pokemon to take over its responsibilities so it can rest. It possesses the powers of most powerful legendary Pokemon, but since it contains too much power, it cannot master every single ability it was granted. It can bend space and time, but cannot fully control them. It can open wormholes, but cannot control where they lead to. It can change the weather, but not for long. It took its duties as Arceus' replacement too literally, and before human history, Amalgam attempted to take down the Creation Trio, Weather Trio, and Aura Trio in order to be the sole protector of balance. It was defeated in a joint effort and sealed by Arceus within a parallel dimension. Legend has it that Amalgam is still desperately opening up wormholes in order to get back to our universe and perform its duties. Honestly, I just came up with that story right now, and that's pretty sad and messed up. I like it though. Its shiny is incredibly sick. Black and gold, like most cool shiny legendaries. This is my personal favorite. It's exactly as intimidating as I wanted it to be. When I imagined a legendary fusion, I imagined this. And finally, we have the group known as Mythicals. Since these designs are pretty tame and way less complicated than full-on legendaries, this one will look more appealing to a bunch of you. And since there even is a subcategory of Mythicals that fans dub Pixie Mythicals, we recognize the aesthetic of most of them. It'll be very cute and pretty, but also badass and fierce. I began by combining the head of Arceus and Darkrai with the wisps on Marshadow's helmet. I gave it Keldeo Resolute's horn with some tufts of its hair. It has the face of Shaman with a combination of Celebi, Meloetta, and Victini's eyes. The eyeliner and eyebrows of Volcanion with the forehead pattern of Manaphy. I knew from the beginning I wanted to add Meloetta's sheet music patterns on the hair and Hoopa's horn combined with Jirachi's tag. Since I don't want to make this Pokemon metallic, I gave it a general feminine figure as a reference to Magearna. Its skirt is a mixture of Darkrai and Deonces with the chest jewel of Deoxys and Manaphy. It even has a stripe on its waist from Meloetta and a belly eye from Jirachi. The Arceus wheel around its hips has been fused with Volcanion's hoses and Hoopa's ring. It has the bug-like abdomen of Genesect fused with Deonce's rock. It has the pin legs of Deoxys, Darkrai, and Magearna, and Mew's tail. Just straight up Mew's tail. Gotta respect the OG. It has the double helix arm of Deoxys with the vine arms of Zarude. It has the hands of Darkrai, Victini, and Hoopa unbound too. I gave it Darkrai's shoulder wisps and refined the design before adding Zeraora's stripes. One of the stripes is on the rib, like Zarude's stripes. I finished it all off with fairy wings, inspired by Celebi and Victini's wings. As an accessory, my Mythical has a Hoopa ring in the shape of a Meltan head. The colors were simple. We have good representation for white, yellow, and teal among Mythicals. And of course, the easiest addition was pink. Probably the most accurate color palette of the three we made. Here is Gracefei, the mythical Pokemon from Graceful and Fairy, a psychic fairy type. This Pokemon does not enjoy the presence of humans, and prefers to work in solitude. It goes around the world imbuing the environment with its life force. It dances to make plants grow, and sings to fill its surroundings with a calming aura. But if a human were to witness its rituals, Gracefei will angrily leave. Deep down, Gracefei wishes good on all life, and performs its duties for the sake of the planet. It is simply antisocial. In battle, it stretches its limbs and attacks with its hexagonal ring. It has the ability Serene Grace. Its shiny is angelic. I want to see shinies like that in the game. I'm sure many of you guys find this one to be the bee's knees. It's very pretty. I love the colors and love how it represents many mythical themes. I hope you enjoyed this video as a whole and want to see it become a true series, so please leave a like and subscribe for that to happen. Check out all my other Fakemon videos, as well as the description for the music I use, my Twitter and Patreon where you can see my videos days early, and get discounts on the t-shirts I made for you guys. You can also do that by becoming a member. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!